You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 139.4, our Madison County girls basketball preview, co-hosted by Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader sports editor Michelle Garmon, with interviews with Elwood head coach Courtney Licklider and Frankton head coach Jeff Bates, and a tournament breakdown with the Herald-Bulletin's Rob Hunt.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome to the Madison County girls basketball preview. We're like 2/3 of the way through this season, people. Can you believe it? Good morning. My name is Greg Mengelt. I'm the host of the Central Indiana Sports Report. Today, for the next hour or so, we are going to be talking about the girls Madison County basketball tournament. First, I'm going to give you a little bit of history, and then Michelle Garmon and I, Michelle of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader, are going to break down each and every game and make our picks for the tournament. Rob Hunt of the Herald-Bulletin, obviously the top source of knowledge for Madison County sports, will join us at the end with his thoughts on the Madison County tournament heading into it on Monday evening, weather permitting. I should probably just go ahead and say right now, if the games are not played on Monday evening, and they are girls boys doubleheaders with the girls at 6 and the boys at 7:30, then it will be moved back a day and the boys will be playing on back-to-back nights. Also, as Michelle and I talk about each of the games, I will play you some interviews I had with Elwood's Courtney Licklider and Frankton's Jeff Bates as they look forward to Monday's opening round of the Madison County tournament. Pendleton Heights has won the girls' Madison County championship more than any other program, with 10 championships, their last one coming in 2022. Anderson has won 8 championships, including 4 in a row from 2018 to 2021. LaPel has won 3 championships, including the last 2. They are the 2-time reigning Madison County champions. Alexandria has also won 3. They won in 2001, 2002, and 2003. Frankton has never won it, surprisingly. Elwood, Liberty Christian, and Anderson Prep have not won it either. Frankton's been in the championship 3 times, as has Elwood. In fact, the last time Elwood was in the championship game, they were coached by current Alexandria head coach Mickey Hosier, who hopes to lead the Tigers to their first championship since 2003. Anderson Prep is 0-12 all-time in the first round of the tournament. Liberty Christian is 2-16 in the first round all-time. Their last win came in 2019 against Alexandria. The tournament has been played in January since 2010. From 2006 to 2009, it was played as the season opening tournament, and its inception through 2005 was played at the end of the regular season. Now joining me is Michelle Garmon, the sports editor at the Elwood Call Leader and Tipton Tribune. Michelle, we have a bit of a dichotomy in our Madison County tournament brackets with the boys tournament. It looks like it's almost seeded. It's not quite that way, but pretty close. And on the girls' side, about 98% sure that the champion's going to come out of the top half of the bracket.
I agree. Um, the boys' bracket should be very interesting. What's going to be very interesting to see is, we're supposed to have a lot of snow, and fortunately, this area didn't get it. I'm not sure what the weather was like because Lapel's far enough south, and I know they were getting it a little farther
I know
south.
Pendleton got at least 6 inches, so
Yeah, and Carmel. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. You probably did because I believe you talked to Coach Props, and but I had texted Ryan Van Skyhock on Friday, and I asked Ryan. I said, is there a contingency plan for the Madison County tournament if the storm comes through? And he said the first round would be moved to Tuesday.
That's
So
correct. Yeah, that's what Brent said.
so what
So
I would do is before we start really talking, I would just like to tell our listeners just keep an eye on Twitter because all of those athletic directors, Greg, myself, will make sure we tweet the information if there is a change in the tournament.
absolutely. And all the girls' games start at 6 o'clock, and this is our girls Madison County preview. So we will start with those. So we will talk with those games now. Please tune into our boys Madison County preview, which is coming up in about 4 hours from the time I release this one. So we start at the bottom of the bracket because we heard from a couple of coaches from that side of the bracket. And let's start with what looks like, besides obviously Lapel and Pendleton, one of the most competitive games potentially. And you wouldn't have guessed that coming into the season, but Anderson Prep at Frankton.
Yeah, yeah, it very well could be. You know, Anderson Prep is much improved. I think they got a lot of confidence when they got their first sectional win and just barely gave a good fight in the sectional championship a year ago. And so that, and then you've got Frankton, who's kind of had an up and down season, and I think um, for the Eagles, their biggest thing has been able to put 4 quarters together.
Right, absolutely. And my guess is that Frankton is going to win this game. We're going to make our pick here in a minute, but it's not inconceivable that Anderson Prep could move on in the tournament, and that hasn't happened very often.
No, it it hasn't. In fact, I'm not sure how many times it has happened.
Yeah, and Anderson Prep has never beaten Frankton in the boys or the girls.
Yes, and we'll get to the boys later, which that's going to be an interesting
It's going to be
matchup.
an interesting one as well, kind of in this exact same way. Um,
Yeah. So I think the keys for Frankton, um, the keys for Frankton to win are limit their turnovers, and they've kind of make shots, and I will say that's probably been Frankton's one of the two biggest detriments to them all year have been turnovers and not making shots. And, those are two areas that if they can win that, and then also against Anderson Prep, it's going to be important for them to rebound well. Anderson Prep's kind of athletic and they're strong inside. Um, so it's a game definitely that when Frankton takes to the court, they've got those kids have got to understand, or those young ladies have got to understand, this isn't the APA teams of the past. This is
yes,
um, an APA
absolutely.
team that's found some success and is going to be a little bit more confident and probably very excited and ready to play. Now, that said, I think the fact that the game is going to be in Frankton or at Frankton is gives a little bit of advantage to the Lady Eagles.
Frankton is 4-0 all time against Anderson Prep in the tournament. Um, Michelle, by the way, our girls basketball picks. We have a competition. I pick how many points I think each game is going to be won by. Michelle says whether she thinks it'll be more or less. The winner gets a point. However, if we pick a different team, whichever team wins, that person gets 5 points. And that is why I have a significant lead over you, Michelle, because it's 38-24. And yesterday, you picked 3 games right. I picked 1 game right, but I picked Blackford to beat Blue River, and they beat Blue River by 4 points. So It was really close, or else this would have been a lot closer. But right now, the score is Greg 38, Michelle 24.
And what you don't know is I nearly picked Western to beat West Lafayette.
Oh, and they
I
did.
nearly did.
I knew they were going to break out in one game because they'd been so close against a
I
pretty good team.
I did, but I felt like I knew they were going to keep doing it, but I kept picking them, or for it to be closer, and it wasn't. And I almost did again, and I thought, oh no, they burned me enough times. I'm not going to this time, and so I got burnt anyway.
And I say in this game, Frankton by 21 points.
Frankton by 21.
Yes.
Oh boy, this is close because I think this is one you could be right at it. Um, and um,
And if
I know
Frankton
Frank.
plays really well, they could be up 21 at halftime. That's another thing that,
Well,
or
yeah, and
if they don't play
they
well,
played
it could be
right. They
single
played
digits.
well. They played well at Kokomo on Friday night.
Yes, they did most of the game.
They did. I mean, they were in it at halftime, and really were in it after three quarters, and Kokomo just put them away. Again, I when we were talking those picks, I said I thought playing at Memorial Gym was going to be a big advantage to Kokomo, just because if
Mm.
it just, I mean, it's just kind of neat when you go there for the first time as
And
a
it was
player.
like I said, Michelle, Kokomo couldn't hit a shot for three quarters. And, I said if that happened, Frankton could hang with him. And then in the fourth quarter, they couldn't miss a shot. So
Yeah,
that's it kind of.
I, I know, and I'm sitting there tomorrow. I'm sitting there, okay, because you said 21. I'm sitting there thinking, no, that's probably about right. And do I want to go over because it could be a little bit over? Do I want to go under because I do think it's going to be double figures, and I think it is going to be around 20 points. I just don't know. Well, you know what? I'll go ahead. I'll say more, and I'll say more because has APA played here recently?
They have had a lot of time off. Their last game was December 19th, a 10-point win over Madison Grant.
Yeah, so I'll because of Frankton going to Kokomo and playing well, I'll say more. I don't think it's going to be much. I don't think it will be much more, but I will go higher.
All right. Earlier this evening, which is a Sunday evening, I spoke with Frankton head coach Jeff Bates about his views on the game against Anderson Prep and um, the tournament at large, and in particular, his side of the bracket. Well, Coach, in the past, drawing Anderson Prep in the first round of the Madison County tournament would have been a good thing. Now it's not quite as good.
Yeah, they have greatly improved, and um, we'll have our hands full with a couple of their players. Orr and Peoples are pretty good, and so we have to make sure that we have everything in line, so to speak, when we take the court in order to play them.
What do you want to see from your team on Monday, Coach?
I would like to see our team do what we do best, and pay attention to kind of who we are and try to eliminate some of our turnovers, and just pay attention to detail and do the little things right. If we do that, we should be okay.
Sounds like you played pretty well in your last game in the first half.
We played fantastic. I was really happy with the girls. They played good defense. Um, and we really put Kokomo on their heels. Uh, and then, of course, second half, Kokomo got hot. And once they hit that streak, they jumped up. We tried to weather the storm, and then they just pushed it out a little bit.
Well, Coach, with the seemingly the three best teams in the tournament on the other side, at least results wise, gives your team an opportunity to make a run in this tournament. Do you feel like you're playing well enough to do that?
I do. I feel like we can get there. I would love to get there. We obviously have to get past these first two. These tournaments are ones that you can pretty much throw out the records because the other team's going to compete. And it's home games essentially for them in their hometown. So it should be good.
Michelle, I think I mentioned it earlier, but all of the girls' games are at 6 o'clock with the boys' games to follow. Now we
Yes.
we go to Liberty Christian, which is 1-2. They had not had enough players to field a team the last couple of years, and have an abbreviated schedule this year. They are 1-2. They actually had a couple of games scheduled that were postponed because they didn't have enough players. Apparently, they're going to have another player become eligible, so they should be able to field a team every game going forward. Elwood, of course, is at home playing. They are 9-3, having their best season in a long time. Part of the record, of course, is that they front loaded a schedule that could build them success. But they've also played well against some really good teams, like Eastbrook within a point. I mean, really good programs. Um, and they beat Southwood on the road, so it's not been all easy games at all. But we're going to find out in this tournament how good they really are.
Yeah, yes, we will. And we're going to find out how good they are after they win their first round game over Liberty Christian. And then I believe they will play Frankton then in the semifinals, and that could be quite an interesting game.
That is correct. I talked to Courtney Licklider earlier on Sunday evening as well, and I asked her about the draw, and she said, I'm not even thinking about. We're not a good enough program to think about anything but beating Liberty Christian." So she said she is not looking ahead to Frankton, but we could do that after we make the Elwood Liberty Christian pick. Let's go ahead and say what we think will happen when Elwood and Frankton play each other. We're going to do it officially on Wednesday morning, but here we're going to do it unofficially before these first round games. But Michelle, I say Elwood by 21.
Elwood by 21 over Liberty Christian.
Yes.
And I know Elwood has had quite a bit of time off. They also, but I'm going to say definitely more on that one. I think if having only played 3 games, and I know Liberty Christian's got a couple of talented freshmen or whatever, but it's really hard because if you don't have enough bodies to really practice, I know I've been in that and I've seen teams. It's really hard to develop continuity and be in sync. And I just think Elwood, Breland Norris is pretty good, and they're gonna be, they're young, but Courtney's done a nice job this year, and I think they got to have some time off, and then they've got to spend a lot of time focusing on them, which playing the number of games they did the front half of the season meant they didn't always have a lot of time to focus on them. So I think Elwood's going to win. I really think Elwood will win by 25 or 30. So I'll say more.
All right, Michelle, here is my conversation earlier tonight with Elwood head coach Courtney Licklider. All right, Coach, you're in the middle of kind of an historic season here for your team with another chance to make some more history, and it starts on Monday night against a Liberty Christian team that you probably don't know too much about because they haven't played much.
Right. Yeah. They just have really low numbers. And so they had to postpone a few games and they already have kind of a shortened schedule. So I've just I do have a few films and I've looked on Max Preps and kind of gone from there.
And it starts with Conyers for them, a freshman who looks like she's got a lot of potential.
She does. And she's very athletic and free with the ball. And, in the 3 games that she's played, she's averaging almost 39 shot attempts. So she is definitely someone that we've got to really make sure that we're not giving her second and third opportunities.
How much have you talked to your team about the opportunity to make a run here in the Madison County tournament?
I haven't said anything at all about it. I think we've talked about it before. The way we've been successful is by breaking things down into smaller pieces and really focusing on like the next task at hand. So we have really only focused on this first game, on this Liberty Christian game. That's really all we've talked about.
So I shouldn't even bother asking you about Frankton.
No. I mean, I don't. I no. I mean, I haven't even gotten film on them. Because like I said, like I just don't ever like to put the cart before the horse, you know.
All right. Well, then we'll talk to you after the game on Monday, hopefully. And we'll talk a little bit about the next round after that. So thank you so much for your time, Coach.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Reminder, everybody, that after Michelle and I discussed these games, I also talked about these games with Rob Hunt of the Herald-Bulletin. His conversation will be coming up in just a moment. All right, Michelle. This is unofficial. Elwood and Frankton. I don't want to score. Who do you think wins?
Um,
It'll be at
do we
Frankton,
know,
by the way.
do we know where these games are going to be
At
played?
Frankton. At Frankton.
At Frankton. All right. I will say, I believe Frankton will win. Now, could be the first. Will definitely be the first of two meetings these teams
Yes.
would have this season, and it could be the first of three, because since
Yes.
they're in the same sectional this year. I think playing at home, having played a quality opponent in Kokomo, and perhaps a team in APA that's a little bit better than Liberty Christian. I think Frankton will win, but I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be closer than that score's been in a lot of years.
Well, that's for sure. And I think it just, my gut says that Frankton is a level above Elwood, but it might be a half level.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready. Yeah, that's if the Frankton team that played for 3/4 against Kokomo, or if it's the Frankton team that played for 3/4 against Lapel, or the Frankton team that played
Shenandoah
well against yeah, and then
scored
played
8 points and a half or what, yeah, that team.
yeah, that team, then yeah, I mean it depends. But if the good Frankton shows up, then
We're
they
pretty sure they're
probably
going to be
are.
in the championship game.
Yeah, I do. I think, but they're going to be in the championship game, and I know we'll talk about later. But I believe the championship game is probably going to be in the semifinals of the top half of the bracket.
Or the first round, but we'll talk about that right now, Michelle. Um, 16-0 Alexandria is at 1-14 Anderson, as we've said before. Anderson's not good. They're 1-14. No team that's 1-14 is any good. But when you see 1-14 in front of Anderson, you think they're gonna lose this game to unbeaten Alexandria by 40 points, and I just don't think that's the case at all. This is an Anderson team that has some talent.
It's not. I don't think it'll be 40 either, but I do think Alec will roll in this game. I think for them, and you're right as far as kind of being seeded, because I think Alec, if they seeded this tournament, I think Alec could very well be the number one seed. They'd definitely be the number 2 seed if
Right.
they weren't the number 1 seed. Um, but I think they're gonna. I think you know, this team is on a mission, and yeah, and so I think they are going to. I just think they'll roll against Anderson. I think it will be double figures. Um, I
All
just
right, I'll just tell you now that my prediction is Alexandria by 21.
it's gonna be more than 21. I believe. I think Mickey is that group is just playing really well.
And then after we talk about the big game of Monday night, Lapel versus Pendleton Heights, I'm going to ask you your pre-tournament guess of who is going to be the champion. And I think it's actually up in the air. So the big game of Monday night, 10-5 Lapel at 9-6 Pendleton Heights. I think if you had to rank the teams, they are two of the top three.
Oh yes, I mean this is Pendleton Heights would either probably be the one seed. I think they'd be the 2 seed behind Alec. I really do, if they'd seeded this tournament. And then Lapel's right there at number 3. unless somebody would want to say because Lapel is. Are they the defending
Yes, they
champions?
are. They are the two-time defending champions.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I know their backcourt is starting to come alive and they're playing a little bit better, but I don't think they'll get Pendleton Heights. I think Pendleton Heights will win in the first round. I think it'll be a highly competitive game. In fact, I really believe it's going to be the best game of. I'm sure you do too. It's going to be
Well,
the best game of the first round.
all right, Michelle. I'm gonna say Pendleton Heights by 21.
Oh, Pendleton Heights by 21. I say less.
I think that's fair. I actually was going to say 15, but since the other three came out to 21, I figure I'm going to say Pendleton Heights by 21 because I think that's more likely than Lapel beating them. I think Pendleton Heights is really good and they're starting to play really well.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think Lapel's playing really well right now. The who was it they won the other day? And I saw and Wills did not score a lot, and I thought that's
Yeah,
good news for Lapel.
that really is good news for her. That was against Winchester on
Yeah,
January
and
2nd.
Winchester is maybe not
Better
what
than
they have
average.
been, but they're not bad
Yeah, they're
against.
better than average for sure.
Yes, yes.
All right, Michelle. So you say Frankton by more than 21 over Anderson Prep, Elwood by more than 21 over Liberty Christian, Alexandria by more than 21 over Anderson, and Pendleton Heights by less than 21 over Lapel.
Yes, I do.
All right, and who do you believe is going to be the tournament champion in the end?
I think it's where's the top half of the bracket? Where are the winners playing? What Jim? Who's hosting the winners?
The winners in the second game, looking at it here, is game one winner. Alexandria will be at home for against either Lapel or Pendleton.
All right. Then, and I know they would, and I know they really like it. I think if there is going to be, I think there is a possibility of two teams only, and I think only two teams now in the second half of the season that could really trip up Alexandria before they get into the tournament. And I think Pendleton Heights is one of them in this tournament. And
But
Oak
will they?
Hill, I know, and then Oak Hill in the later in the
Right.
conference thing. And I think it will be a dogfight, but I think if they're playing in Alexandria, I will give it to the Tigers. Like I said, I think Mickey's crew is just these girls are on a mission. I really, really hope that they are able to accomplish a lot of what they want to accomplish.
All right.
I,
This is go ahead.
I think it's the senior group's been together and played together for a very long time, and they've been with Mickey all through all 4 years there. So, I just think for Alexandria, special season. I'll give it to them, but I won't be surprised if Pendleton Heights wins the tournament. But I do believe they'll win it, and
All
I that's changed because I'm not so. I would not have said that probably a month ago.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm not going to say that now. I believe, and this is my prediction, Michelle. Pendleton Heights will win 3 games, all by double digits. The first two will be 10-12, to possibly 20 with Lapel. But I think Pendleton is significantly the best team in Madison County.
Okay.
So we differ on that. So let's put 5 points on it, even though it's not an officially pick. Between now and then, we'll put 5 points on it. I will take
Okay.
Pendleton
That's
Heights,
fine.
and you take Alexandria to win it. And if Lapel wins it, then neither one of us gets the point.
There we go.
But those are the three. I guess you would have to put Frankton in there because we think they'll get to the championship. But the three really favorites, I think Pendleton, Alexandria, 1A, 1B. Lapel just slightly behind in the third part, which by the way, they might have the best player, although there are 3 really good ones in this tournament,
Well,
if not
I'll tell you
4.
what.
If
I don't really know. I mean, you got of course Jacqueline Hosier.
Yeah.
At Alexandria, and then you have the
Casey Warfel at
yes,
Pendleton Heights.
Pendleton Heights, and her and Hosier keep going back and forth
That's
as far
right.
as Madison County scoring records.
Yes.
And then you've got Linnea Wills, who is
Yes.
really good at lapel, and
Definitely the best
I can only say
underclassmen.
this: if those three players were on the same team,
Ooh.
especially in Class 2A, you're probably looking at a state finals team.
Yeah, you're probably looking at a state champion, especially in 2A. If those three were together, they'd be competitive in 4A. And Ada Hupfer from Pendleton Heights, you got to mention her too, the best post player, the best pure post player, because Lanaya can do a little of everything in the tournament as well. So should be a great tournament, Michelle. Thank you for your time, and remind everybody to go listen to the boys preview that will be out about 1 o'clock this afternoon.
All right, and reminder just to keep up. Of course, if there's school tomorrow, I'm sure that you'll hear the announcements at school to players, but just follow us on social. Greg, or the Central Indiana Sports Report with Greg, or myself, or your school's social media accounts.
And if you're
To
not
keep
doing that
updated.
now, what are you doing? If you're not
I know.
following the Central Indiana Sports Report and Michelle Garmon, and you're a sports fan around here, what are you doing?
I know. And, and follow, and you could, Rob Hunt, he'll have it on
Yes,
his.
the great Rob Hunt and the great Scott Hunt. They will be
Yes.
updating us on Twitter. Of course, Rob is very active on Twitter. So I was going to say, if what you want to do is get updates on what's going on in Madison County, as much as you should be following Michelle and myself, Rob Hunt would probably be your first choice. And speaking of Rob Hunt of the Herald-Bulletin, here he is with his take on the girls' Madison County tournament.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
All right, Rob, the Madison County tournament, one of your biggest events of the year, obviously. The boys and girls both play double headers against the same teams on Monday. That's going to be a lot of fun, getting to see a lot of basketball. And then they go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Let's start with the girls and talk about what looks like a lopsided bracket.
A top half of the bracket, you want?
Yes.
I mean, the top half of the bracket is something else, right? I mean,
Yes.
Going in, I feel like there's three teams with bullseyes on them, and they're all in the top half of the bracket.
Poor Anderson.
Yeah, and that's the team that's won. They've won, a ton of championships. They've won this thing, I think 9 times. If I get my facts in front of me, they've won 9
Great program.
county championships. So, but they're going to have a hard time getting out of that top bracket. I mean, I feel like there's 3 bullseyes. Like I said, I mean, you got Lapels, the 2-time defending champion. They're going to be playing against Pendleton Heights, who is, I think most people would consider them the favorite going in. And then the other game in that half of the bracket, Anderson has to deal with Alexandria, who's undefeated with the bullseye on their back. So, they want to get this thing done. They've won this thing 3 times, and it's been a while. So, that top half of the bracket's gonna be fun. I mean, it starts that first game. I'll be there at Pendleton for the Lapel Pendleton Heights game. It's come down to these two the last couple of years. They faced off in this county tournament. It was a semifinal last year. It was a championship game 2 years ago. Actually, championship game 2 and 3 years ago. But this year they meet in the first round, and that's tough. One of these teams is going to be in the losers bracket. That's
Right.
kind of the way this thing's set up. So that half the bracket we can talk about all day. There's interesting stuff going on in the bottom half too. So
That's
we
right.
can talk about this one in a lot of different ways.
That's right. It really opens the doors for Anderson Prep, for Frankton, for Elwood, Liberty Christian. Gives them an opportunity to do some things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's some good stories going on down there. I mean, Elwood off to a phenomenal start to this season and playing well. I mean, it's not like they're just playing really bad teams and beating them. They're competitive. That's a team that they've got two legitimate scorers. I could definitely see them punching the ticket.
Dominate the boards most nights.
Yes. Kendra Salee could do that.
Yes.
It could be an interesting matchup if it's APA in that semifinal. Let me tell you, because
Right.
Olivia Peoples is a pretty good post presence as well. But that's a tough matchup for Liberty Christian. That's a team that's been away for the last couple of years. So first of all, it's just great that we've got 8 teams back in the tournament.
Yes.
After 2 years, but they basically have 5 or 6 kids. They've got another kid who's going to be eligible, I think, later this week, but maybe not in time for the tournament. But
And they've got themselves a superstar, right?
Serenity Conyers is an absolute superstar in the making as a freshman. She's scoring about 30 points a game, and I've watched her play. She's not doing that because nobody's guarding her. She is a legitimate basketball player who can shoot, who can get to the basket, can handle the ball. She's athletic. She's fast. She has the full package. She needs some help, certainly,
Right.
with some more bodies on that team. There's a couple kids on the team that play pretty well, but they just need some bodies, and they'll get there. But that's a tough. And then that APA and Franklin game is a very interesting matchup.
Yes, it is. And I think you would say that it's been a disappointing season for Frankton, but
Mhm.
mostly because of the standard set by that program.
Sure.
They could get to the championship game, and it kind of starts to change the tone
Mhm.
of the season.
Yeah, I agree. And part of the reason this is an interesting matchup is not so much saying anything negative about Franklin. APA is having a really solid year.
Yes, they are.
You look at the Sagarin ratings; they are prohibitive favorites to win their sectional,
Yes.
and possibly even win a regional, which would be incredible since they've never done either. But they're talented in the post. They are better at handling the ball. They can shoot the 3 a little bit. Olivia Peoples is a post player that really, other than outside of Ada Hupford, just doesn't exist in this county. And I include Lanaya Wills in that. Lanaya Wills is a different player.
Yes, she's a different kind of player. Yes.
She's a different kind of player.
Yes.
But as far as a true post player, Olivia Peoples, she's averaging 20 points and I think 12 or 13 rebounds, something like that. So
Right.
Kaylin Orr is another kid who can score. They're a pretty good team. I mean, they will give Franklin battle. It's at Franklin, which is always a tough place to go play. And I know those Eagles have a lot of pride. They may, like you said, they're not necessarily having the greatest Franklin year by their standards, but they're going to play with some pride. They want to get to that final game.
Absolutely. And Elwood, we talked a little bit about them. 9-3,
Mm-hmm.
more wins than the last few years combined. And again, they have an opportunity to make some history, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a big deal for Elwood. We've spent so much time talking about how, I don't know, unfair is not quite the right word, that the brackets are, but
Mm-hmm.
it really does open up opportunities for fledgling programs.
I mean, it's been 10 years since Elwood was in the county final. 9 years, I believe, since Franklin was there. Gotta go back even further for Liberty or APA, of course, never. I know Liberty was there. Let me scroll here for a second. I may be mistaken. Nope, Liberty Christian has never been to the final either. So yeah, there's
Wow.
chance for a couple teams that have, it's been a long time coming for some of these teams, and somebody's gonna get a chance to go play with one of the big boys in that championship game.
Tell me about what the Herald-Bulletin will be doing to cover the games on Monday.
Well, weather permitting.
Yes.
We'll see what Mother Nature has in store for us. I'm told that if things are snowed out and have to be postponed, they're just going to move Monday's games back a day. So
I figured.
What
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now is scheduled for Monday. If it gets snowed out, then just consider this a Tuesday. But yeah, we will have 3/4 of those sites covered. I will be at the like I said, I'll be at the Lapel Pendleton Heights doubleheader, which will be a kind of a tournament rematch between the girls and then a regular season rematch for the boys because the Arabians and Bulldogs played earlier in the year. And our good friend Rich Torres will be at Anderson for the Alexandria Anderson doubleheader. We'll see Jacqueline Hosier on one of the big stages here in the county, and Damian King as well. So I believe the top two scorer, top girl scorer and top boys scorer, will be in action in that game. Move over to Frankton, the Eagles Nest. Phil Beebe is going to step up and help us out on a Monday. He's typically a weekend guy, but he for the county tournament he was willing to help us out. So we'll have those sites covered. Liberty and Elwood. I apologize. We ran out of bodies. Whoever wins, we'll get you later in the week.
I'll tell you what, Rob, I'll go cover Liberty at Elwood, and we will have a full report from that one.
Keep us updated. Absolutely.
And we will keep you
absolutely.
updated, and you just help me make my decision. So there we go. And I've been wanting to see Liberty Christians boys live. Of course, I saw them on streaming when they played Anderson and enjoyed that one a lot. But looking forward to seeing Liberty Christian boys live, and always like watching Elwood's team grow as a program. So I will be happy to cover that one, and I will give you a report if you give me a report from Pendleton Heights.
Sure, absolutely, and some interesting things in that matchup to watch for. I mean, we mentioned Salih, but we didn't talk about Breland Norris. What a great player
Yes.
she's developing into, and we saw signs last year that she was going to be a really good player, and then get her just a little help. Get Kendra Salih healthy, and all of a sudden, it's funny how a post player can make a good guard great. And
That's right.
Breland Norris is headed that way, and then you're going to get the chance to check out Serenity and see what she can do. She might be worth the price of admission herself.
Maybe one day the Elwood Panthers can have a team as great as their 1976 team, which featured Mary Pat Mengelt and Christy Mengelt and won the sectional at Lapel in 1976.
Do
Maybe
you know them?
one day.
Do you know them? Do you know those ladies?
I am familiar with them, and by the way, Christy McClellan, when she played at Elwood, is now my aunt Christy. Okay, Rob. Thank you so much for your time. Probably let's have everyone who's listening to this one go right now and listen to the boys podcast where we talk about how good the boys Madison County tournament's going to be.
All right.
Go right now, everybody. Thanks again to Michelle and Rob for contributing to the Central Indiana Sports Report, and to Elwood head coach Courtney Licklider and Frankton head coach Jeff Bates for joining us and talking about the tournament. And thank you for listening. Always appreciate it. Please go like, subscribe, or follow us. It would be very helpful to us. Something else that would be very helpful to us would be if you would tell a friend. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.